Right guys, so welcome back to a new video. Now you probably already noticed this location. You're probably thinking, George, where is your car? Don't worry, we are trying to target a completely different demographic by using one of the most popular, affordable, modified fast Fords on the road, the Ford Fiesta ST 180. Now guys, with Owen's help, we're going to be running through a similar style video, but using the Fiesta as today's example. So all the questions that you've given me in the comment section underneath recent videos, we're going to be tailoring to fit this car. So many of you complained that the Focus ST wasn't your car or wasn't your preference, so don't worry guys, this video is for you. So Owen, we're going to get you involved. I'm going to stop waffling and we're going to hand it over to him.
Right, now George is gone, it's my turn, and we're going to have a look at this Fiesta. Like George says, it's one of the most commonly modified cars on the UK roads. This one's got loads of common mods on it, so hopefully we can talk you through some of the mods on that car and answer some of the questions that you've raised on the YouTube videos and on the TikToks, and we can give you some advice into what you can, what you can't do, and also what you have to declare to the insurance company and why. Okay, so hot topic at the moment is number plates, and we've done a quick TikTok already about the incoming new regulations and the new British standards that are being introduced by DVLA. Let's start at the beginning. Okay, the number plate is there so that it can be read, and it has to be read easily by the ANPR cameras, and the new changes to the British standard are generally about number plates being able to be read easily by ANPR. So what DVLA are saying is that some of the old number plates that are 3D and 4D aren't easily read by the ANPR, and they don't meet either the new regulations or sometimes the old regulations. So the new regulations are coming in as of the 1st of January 2021, and they're mandatory from the 1st of September 2021. We're waiting for DVLA to come back to us with some details on this, and we'll give you a full video on the new number plate British standards when we get that, but I don't want to do it too early and give you information that may be misleading. So just be aware there is a new British standard coming in that may well make 3D and 4D plates not available now for use on the road. So going back to the number plate placing, it's got to be easily read. So in the middle, where it was designed in the factory, is easily read, okay? If you have it in the window here, that's not easily read because it's not standing up and easily read by that camera, okay? It's lying at an angle, which means that the number plate reader can't read it properly. That's why we don't let you have it in the window. Having it on the side and putting it offset, you know, that's not really a problem as long as it can be read. And we've done a quick TikTok with George's car that actually demonstrates how the ANPR camera in the car misreads that plate because it's bent round the bumper. So we're going to pop down to Vosper's Alfa Romeo and we're going to show you how the offset number plate is mounted on the Alfa. That goes for Evos and other vehicles that have got the offset mounted plate. So in the last video on why you might get stopped, we looked at George's number plate, and a lot of people commented about how does that work for Alfa Romeos. So today we've come down to Vosper's Exeter, and Alfa Romeo have kindly let us use this car so that we can have a look at the number plate. So if we have a look at this number plate, what we can see is that it's clearly mounted on the side of the bumper, and it's actually mounted on a plate. That plate holds it vertical. It's not bent around the side like the one was on George's, and you can view that from any angle. Looking at it from here, which is where I would see it driving past, I can see every letter on that number plate. Therefore, that perfectly complies with all the legislation and there's no issue with it. Clearly, we're not going to be stopping every Alfa Romeo on the road, and that works perfectly well. So now we're going to look at some of the cosmetic modifications around the front of the car. And we've had a lot of questions about tinted headlights. Now, if you're going to tint the headlights, you know, obviously you can't take away some of that light output. And it mustn't affect the beam pattern on the light as well for the MOT. Clearly this one has also got the headlight brows, and again it can't interfere with that beam pattern for the MOT purposes, and it can't detract from the light that's being emitted. If we're thinking about the bulbs, you are not allowed to replace your halogen bulbs with LED lights or HED lights, okay? You can't replace those bulbs with something that isn't suitable for that headlamp. It will fail the MOT if you do that. So when we looked at sun strips on George's car, the windscreen pedestrian wipers on his car came quite high. Now the Fiesta comes with slightly shorter ones, and that will affect the depth that you can have the sun strip. Okay, so basically what we said on the previous one was if the sun strip doesn't come down into the sweep of the wipers, then you're probably okay with that. So what the actual legislation says, and for the MOT, is it divides the windscreen up into certain areas. So you've got zone A and zone B. Now zone A basically covers the area in front of the driver, okay, and it's measured about 290 mil across. And what it says is that you can't have anything like the sun strip coming down more than 10 millimeters into that zone A. People have said about the sun visor and what difference that is to having a sun strip. Okay, well the visor you can move, okay, it's movable. The sun strip you can't. So if the sun strip's coming down too low and it affects your vision, then there's your problem. So we covered wraps in a previous video. Now what DVLA are telling us is that they want to know if a vehicle has had more than a 50% colour changed, even if it's temporary. Okay, so if your car has been wrapped more than 50% of a colour change, then please tell DVLA on the V5. Obviously, you also need to tell your insurance company. Now, the reason for this is that that information from DVLA goes on to things like the ANPR system. So if we see a car that's out on the road, the ANPR system tells us that that car should be white, but it's been wrapped and it's now blue. So we're going to stop that car and we're going to see whether that car is the right car or whether it's on cloned plates, or why it's showing a different colour. But also your insurance company also need to know about it, okay? And that is because any change to your car from when it left the factory, the insurance company wants to know about, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in the video. So while we've got the ST180 here, it's a really good opportunity for me to get inside the car and have a look at things that you should or shouldn't do to the interior of the car. Now, they've got really lovely seats in the ST180. They come with Recaros as standard. I don't want to damage that by wearing my kit inside the car, so using a bit of YouTube magic, we're going to sort that one out right now. And there we go. Okay, so getting in the car then. I'll take my hat off as well. So like I said before, the seats in the ST180, they're a Recaro seat. They're really comfortable, really good seats, but some people might want to change them. If you do change them, then please make sure you get a good quality seat and they're fitted correctly. The same goes with harnesses, and we covered that in a previous video. Okay, the harnesses must be fitted correctly. Please don't buy a cheap harness. Please make sure that it complies with the regulations and that it's fitted properly. It's really, really important that you do that. It's really got to be as safe as it possibly can be. So other mods within the car, steering wheels. We've had a load of questions about steering wheels and aftermarket steering wheels. Now there are MOT regulations around the removal of a factory airbag. So we're going to do a full video on that coming soon about replacing steering wheels and that factory fitted airbag in the MOT regulations. Other things inside the car, please don't have loads of dangly things coming from the mirror, because if they're coming within the zone A and the zone B on your windscreen, like I said about the sun drops, then they could be a problem, all right? Now, I don't want to be pedantic, but you know, please be careful. If you've got huge, great things there, they could affect your view of the road. Now, there are other things that we've had in the past that have been the cause of fatal collisions, okay? And that was A-pillar gauges. And there was a specific job where a pedestrian was run over, and during the investigation, it was found that the A-pillar gauges that were fitted aftermarket were a contributing factor to that collision, because they restricted the view of the driver, and the driver didn't see the pedestrian as the pedestrian was walking out in front of them, and that was the main cause of that collision. So please be really careful with things like that. And that takes us into the window tints as well. Why do we say that there is a limit for your window tints? Well, it's exactly the same principle. If it's restricting your view of the road as the driver, then potentially you may pull out on somebody or you may run over a pedestrian because you haven't seen them. So George has mentioned that he's had loads of questions from people about aftermarket wheels and suspension and what you can have and what you can't have and things like that. Okay, so if we look at this car, it's got a set of aftermarket wheels. Now we could get really complicated about this because in previous videos we've talked about wheel spacers, and a lot of the time people put wheel spacers on just to bring the wheels out slightly to make it look a bit better. You know, does it improve or doesn't it improve handling? Well, you know, the jury's out on that. Some people will say it does, some people say it doesn't. Some people say that the wheel spacers, you know, will ruin the handling, and some people say that it will destroy the wheel bearings. You know, it's a difficult one to answer, that one. The aftermarket wheels here, what you've got to be careful of is things like offset when you're buying them. So not all of the aftermarket wheels will fit all models. You've got to have them suitable for the car that you have, because if the offset is too much or too little, it will affect where the wheel is in the wheel arch, and that's effectively what the spacer does as well. It's moving that wheel in and out of the wheel arch, and will affect the stance of the car. Obviously you've got the stud pattern to consider as well when you're changing the wheel, because if it's not the right stud pattern, quite clearly it's not going to fit anyway. And also, you know, changing the wheels as well will also affect the suspension. So what suspension are you putting on there? Are you just changing the springs for lowering springs? This one is fitted with eye-back springs. It's just bringing it down a little bit, and it's just improving the handling of the car. So you could combine the lowering springs with an aftermarket damper, which will again improve the road holding and the stance of the car. Or you could go to coilovers. Okay, so with the coilovers you can then adjust the ride height that you have, and also how firm or soft that suspension is. Or if you've got loads of money, you can go for air ride, and then you can control that with inside the car. You can control how high the car is, what the ride height is when you're driving, where you want it sitting, where you're parked, but you've got to have fairly deep pockets for air ride. It's an expensive mod. With all these things, anything you change on the car, and we're going to talk about it again in a bit, is you must make sure you tell the insurance. So with an aftermarket wheel, you know, even if it's a wheel that's come from another Ford, it's still different to how this one left the factory. So anything you change from when this car left the factory, you've got to tell the insurance company, because you're changing the spec of that car. So Will.20 has asked, do I need to insure a sticker? Well, in simple terms, yeah. Now I get that that's, you know, really frustrating, and people say, well, why do I have to insure a sticker? So the insurance company are asking you, when you take out that policy, have there been any alterations to your car from when it left the factory? And they will take your answer to that question and they will use that in the event of any claim. So if they find anything that's wrong with your car, and an insurance claim can cost them thousands, sometimes even millions of pounds, if they can take your answer to that question and say, well, actually, you didn't tell us about that, then they can get out of paying that money. So I know that there have been claims in the past where the insurance company has turned down a claim because of a sticker. And yeah, it sounds crazy, but unfortunately that's the way it is. So in short, yes, you need to insure your stickers. So Lewis Collins 225 has asked if you can have a number plate in the windscreen if it's displayed clearly. Well, the answer to that is no, you can't. However, if you wanted to have it in there as an additional plate to the plate that's properly displayed on the front, or you wanted to put it there for show purposes, then yeah, you can do that, but it can't be the only plate that's displayed on the front. So if we have a look at this one, and we put this plate on the front there, I'll show you why. Now if you look at that, the plate is leaning like that at an angle. Therefore, if I was coming the other way in a police car, there's no way that the ANPR is going to pick that up. The plate needs to be like that, so it's face on, okay? You're never going to get that from putting it in the front windscreen like that, and that's the reason why you can't have it in the front screen. So we've had a question on Instagram about, are pops and bangs and flames more likely to get me stopped? Well, probably yes, because if you've got a pop and bang map on it, then clearly that car has been remapped. So that might be something that we'd be looking at. And also, you know, it is annoying to some people. I know you probably love it, and you know, other people love it, but there are people that don't as well. So we do get complaints about the pop and bang. So yes, you may well get stopped because of that, depending on the environment. Okay, so with regards to flames, you probably would be more likely to be stopped if we can see flames. Okay, because flamer kits, we've discussed that in a previous video, and if the flamer kit is being used on the road or at a car meet, it's dangerous. You know, you've got flames coming out of the exhaust. If someone were to walk past the back of the car, that can really do them some harm. And also the construction and use legislation will say that you can't have anything in your exhaust that can ignite or cause that flame. Things go wrong with cars sometimes, and for all you know, you might have an undiagnosed oil leak or an undiagnosed fuel leak, or somebody else may have a fuel leak. So a flame coming out of your exhaust could potentially be catastrophic. You know, it could cause your car to explode or the car behind to explode, or like I said before, someone walking past the back of it could get caught by that flame. You know, it can be really, really dangerous, and I know people think it doesn't happen, but it does happen, unfortunately, and we do see it. Let's swiftly jump on to the last question before we tie up today's video. So one of the most common questions we get is about noise and about exhausts and things like that. I've explained in previous videos about decats and de-res and things like that, and all these different things that you can do to an exhaust, and it all changes the tone of the exhaust. You know, I've had exhausts on cars, I've used different makes of exhaust, they all sound differently. Now this one's got a Miltech on it, and it's got a de-res, but it's still got the back boxes, okay, so it complies with the construction and use legislation, and it will go through an MOT because it's running the standard catalytic converter that came from the factory. Now, what I've said in previous videos about the catalytic converters is that you've got to have them if your car needs it to go through the MOT. Clearly, if your car didn't have one when it came out the factory and it doesn't need it for an MOT, then you don't have to put one on it. But for a car like this, it did have one from the factory, so you've got to have that or a sports cat or something to make sure that it gets through that MOT and it's therefore legal to be on the road. Now I'm going to get them to start this one up. We can hear this one's got a nice little gurgle on it, okay? It hasn't got a crackle or a pop and bang map on it. If you've got a crackle or a pop and bang map on it, so it's going crackle, 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 bang, bang, and we can hear that, then clearly to us that car has had a remap as well. And you know, we'd be interested to know whether that has been declared to the insurance company, and it just leads on to other things. So just from personal experience of modifying my own cars and also professional experience of looking at these cars day in, day out, I can tell the difference between a tastefully modified car, and I can hear the difference in the exhaust tones and things like that that would indicate to me whether it's been properly modified with a decent system or whether it's been straight piped and decatted and things like that. So if you're modifying your exhaust, just make sure you do it tastefully, you do it with a proper system, and you do it properly. Go out, enjoy the car, enjoy what you've created, but just do it properly and do it safely.
Right guys, you've made it towards the end of today's video. Thank you so much for your time. I want to give a big shout out to the owner of this Fiesta ST 180, but more importantly guys, it was built by MJ Performance on a Revo Stage 1. So if you want something like this, obviously just go on Google, go on YouTube, I'm sure you can find something just as nice. Now, I speak on behalf of myself, Owen, the Devon Cornwall and Dorset Police. Thank you so much for all of your support of recent. The videos have just taken off and I couldn't be more grateful. But guys, we are gonna have to leave it now. The weather's terrible and we're all freezing cold. It's been a long, long day. Now smash a thumbs up on the video if you haven't already. Let us all know what you think in the comment section below and we'll be sure to see you in the next one. But for now, GCM, roll the outro. Peace.